You start diving into my stuff. Not saying you have to believe it, but again, argue with the elk. That's when all of a sudden it goes, crap, do I really understand what I'm doing when I'm bugling? How many times do you watch a video or hear somebody talk about, oh, look, he's coming in looking for a fight? No, he's curious. He's 2.5 years old. How cocky can this guy be?
Hey, what's going on, folks? Well, this week's episode of the Stick Bow Chronicles brought to you by Blackwidow Bows. I'm Rob Patudo, and he is Blake Hunter. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Rob?
Not much, man. What a guest.
It was, man. It was a blast, and yeah, that was way out of my wheelhouse. But I'm glad I sat in on it, and I'm really looking forward to digging into it and re-listening to it. Actually,
yeah, right off the bat, I was like, man, I don't think you're fired up enough. That guy's fired.
No, he just kept on. Every time it seemed like I was like, okay, I got a good question, and then he would answer my question before I had a chance to ask it. So.
Yeah, wealth of knowledge. Chris Roe from Roe Hunting Resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is not the last time, because I could just shoot the breeze with him. There's just so many rabbit holes you go down, but he is a very knowledgeable about elk vocalization and hunting tactics. And it's really cool. It's a cool dynamic for me, because I'm just dyed in the wool, do the same thing every year and have, for many years. But you start thinking out of the box. You look at guys that look at it scientifically, right? So I just react. I don't ever think about it. So Really fun for me to talk to a guy like that.
Yeah. And I've not really hunted elk per se. I was on a deer hunt last year and had an elk tag in my pocket and just kind of had some elk handed into my lap. And we were like, what do I do?
I'm elk hunting now.
So it was kind of, hear elk, see elk, go try and sneak up on elk. This is pretty much my strategy as of right now. But no, it was a great conversation. And, I'm sure I asked a stupid question here or there, but hopefully somebody else is thinking the same things I was thinking, because it was high level stuff. And, I can't wait to dig into his website a little bit.
Yeah. I'm going to go check it out. There was a lot of stuff that I wanted to ask him, but it's 2 hours now.
Keep on rolling, man. Yeah.
2 hours. 2 hours now. I don't want to burn. Yeah. You can shear a sheep many times, but you can only slaughter them once. So I don't want to run them off.
Oh yeah. No, he could keep on rolling. I've heard him on with Aaron over 3 hours before, I think. Yeah. So, but no, it was a great conversation. He certainly has the video and stuff to back it up, it sounds like, and approaches things from a very, very interesting perspective and a very no-nonsense perspective.
Straight up, man. I am going to sign up probably tomorrow morning. I'm going to start checking that out, and I'm going to tell my hunting buddy.
I think I'll do the same. I'm going to have a pretty good elk tag next year, so I certainly don't want to eat that thing. They don't taste very good. So,
well, there's not a lot of calories in them.
No, there's not. And I need all those I can get.
Not me. Can I get an elk tag light?
Diet.
All right, you ready to get rolling?
Yeah, I'm good to go, man.
All right, I want to thank the sponsors, Kifaru International, Selway Archery, the Footed Shaft, and of course, Blackwidow Bows. Thanks for tuning in. Tag us. We got something coming down the pike we're going to talk about. We want to talk about that?
Let's talk about it real quick. Yeah, let's tease it real quick.
All right. So a lot of you guys and gals might remember the first trad harvest last year we did. And that was a huge success. But now that you got your first trad out of the way, this year is, what are we calling it?
Just let's call it the I Hunt Close Contest.
All right. There you go. So we're looking for 2020 kills. So trad kills 2020. there'll be much more information coming out, but we've got Kifaru is putting up a pack and a quiver. We got some Sitka Gear clothing.
Iron Wills donating some broadheads.
Yep, and there's a couple more that we're working on. I don't want to commit yet, but so yeah, you're going to send a picture in of your trad kill. We'll have a place to send it in, and probably going to start, I don't know, whenever, August 15th, or what's the date today?
Yeah, here in the next week or two.
Yeah. But we'll end it like probably December 15th, because we have we have seasons going clear into December, and not a big buck contest or nothing, and not a photo contest, but just want to see your trad kill. And
yeah, send a little story in with it, kind of say what happened or whatever, and that way we kind of know the context of everything, and yeah, it should be great.
Yep. So we're still hammering out the details, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Guaranteed.
I'm looking forward to see all of it. So
you betcha. All right, let's get him out of here.
All right.
Roger out. All right. What's up, Chris?
Everything all at once. How about you guys?
Oh, doing good, man.
No,
Glad to have you on.
You've been pretty busy.
Oh my gosh. I literally was talking to one of my landowners today, and I have no idea how in the world are we sitting at middle of August right now. I mean, where did it go? Where did summer go? Weren't we just, I mean, some people still are, but weren't we all in this like frantic, COVID, March, April, May, and it just seemed like that happened, and then something 2 days ago happened, and now it's August, and it's mid-August, and there's just not enough time in the day. It is what it is. I'm not, like every year, I'm not going to get everything finished that I want to, and it just
They shortened July by 3 weeks. It's only 1 week now.
They had to. They had to have. There's just no way. And people say, "Oh, wait till you get older, it gets worse." No, please, dear Lord, no. Because if it gets worse, I'm screwed. Well, but how you guys been doing?
Oh, same deal. I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, I got time. And then I look, I'm like, it's like 2.5 weeks and I'm leaving. You got to be kidding me. I got this to do. I got that to do. I haven't even looked at my calls. I need a new grunt tube. And it's like, I gave up on boots. I'm going to wear my old boots for another year. Yeah.
Well, hey, at least you have something that you can always look forward to. Well, next year I'll get a new set of boots.
No, I'm looking forward to complaining that I don't have new boots while I'm packing an elk out. That's my
why
goal.
I didn't get it out this year. That's why I didn't get it. I just the boots. Oh, the boots, damn.
Yeah. Oh no. So, Chris, why don't you start the listeners off with your experience, how you got started in wildlife, and just tell them about a little about Chris Roe.
All right. Well, I'll give you the short skinny of it. So, yeah, I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a wildlife biologist. I had a grandfather that retired he was a game warden, and then other side of my family, a bunch of people hunted. And so between my grandfather getting me into hunting and fishing, and then going with my, uncles and everything else, I knew I wanted to work with wildlife. But at an early age, I really became fascinated and loved animal behavior and vocalizations, communication. So when I found turkey, so my grandfather, like early teens, kicked me off with turkey hunting, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever, because I could talk with them and I could, quote unquote, make them do what I wanted them to do. And whitetails, man, I remember when the first time somebody talked about the grunt, snort, wheeze, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is going to be it, and it went from there. So I graduated high school, went to school to get my degree. As many young people do, I didn't have a good solid concept of money. So I had about 1.5 years worth of playtime in northern Wisconsin, and then promptly ran out of money. And so joined the military, spent some time in the military because I wasn't going to go back home and just get a crap job. So I spent some time in the military, but then we got our unit moved back to the United States. It was in Washington State. And I realized at that point, I was like, man, you know what? I got to play around in the Olympic Peninsula for a while. And I was like, man, no, I'm not going to stay in the military. I need to get back and get my finish my wildlife degree. And that's the direction I need to head back into. So ended up going to Colorado State University in Fort Collins to finish up my wildlife degree. While there, that is where it was one of those things where, okay, again, single, no money. So I'm working 3 jobs. Now I've got at least the Army College Fund and GI Bill. So that's at least some money, but I'm still working 3 jobs. So summer comes up and I've got to find something beginning of the end for me. I mean, my job was, I ended up working that job, I think, for 5 years, all summer long. My job is to go hike up into the backcountry, park myself over top of and around elk, and basically either interact with them during when we were doing the treatment phase or go up, park my butt up there from Monday through Saturday and just live in the alpine right above them and just sit and record behavioral interactions, cow-calf interactions for the study. And so you can't spend that much time not picking up it. I'm still a hunter at this time. I still love hunting. I'm getting into elk hunting, loving every minute of it. The relevant thing that also coincided with this kind of was I ended up, long story short, getting picked up and being a part of the Primos Pro Staff, Primos Hunting Calls, back when Will owned the company and he ran and pioneered the Pro Staff. That was back when Pro Staff actually meant something. I mean, we would field test calls, prototype calls, run all of their products to make sure everything was good to go. But now I'm the guy that has to get up and give a seminar. And I don't know how much of a deep dive you did on me when you were doing some research on this, but I talk all the time about the so what factor. And to this day, I have a strong commitment of, I was that critical jackass in the audience going to seminars. So back in the late 80s and 90s, there were no podcasts, there was no internet, but if you wanted to go listen to someone talk and learn something from someone, you either had to buy the DVD or you would go sit there. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No, sorry. No, yeah. I was thinking you're right. No, yeah. I actually said, yeah, VHS cassette tape. Sorry, you're absolutely, I thought I said DVD and I was thinking VHS. You're right. So you either had to buy the tape or you had to go to somewhere where someone was speaking, and you'd sit your butt in the chairs and there'd be 30, 50, 80, 100 guys or gals there. And then the guy sitting up on the stage or in front of you spends an hour, 2 hours just telling you all the animals they've killed and all the great places they've got to travel. And it's like, what? So what? Why am I giving you an hour of my time? I want to be that. I want to have that success. Stop telling me what you've done. How about you tell me how you did it? And more importantly, how can I do it? And so now I'm the guy. I'm the pro staff. I'm the guy that's got to get up there and give the talk. Well, there's only so many times you could tell somebody how to blow an open reed, a mouth call or a mouth diaphragm. And some of my audience, so I covered from southern Wyoming to northern New Mexico and throughout all of Colorado. Well, hell, some of the guys that are in the audience were 30-year elk guides. What the heck am I going to teach them from how to run a call? So I started to incorporate what I was learning from a behavior standpoint, from a vocalization standpoint, putting things together, and that started to get traction. That is what kept getting me re-invited to come back. And people were like, we want you back and we're going to do a big deal and blah, 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 blah. Now, here we go. Fast forward to 2010. Now the internet is starting to become independent user friendly. Before, you had to pay somebody that knew what the hell they were doing with programming to get your content up there. About 2010 is when my wife, we could talk about her later, she's incredible. She's a wildlife biologist. She's also an attorney. She also does a lot of web stuff. She does everything. She started saying, you know what, we can build a website for ourselves now. And I can take all of the things that I was traveling and talking about, and I can start putting them in a place where people can come and digest them online. But more importantly, it provides an easier avenue where I can put an elk in front of someone and show them what I'm talking about. Anybody can flap their gums at you, especially podcasts these days, because a lot of times you don't have a clue in the world what their credentials are. And quite honestly, I know some of my philosophy goes against the grain of what a lot of folks talk about these days, and it's a different value set. But what I say is, okay, fine, listen to what I'm going to tell you. And if you want to argue with me, don't argue with me. Go to the website and just what? I'll put an elk in front of you. You watch her do the vocalization. Listen to what she says. Watch her body language. Look at who responds. Look at what they did in response. And then more importantly, sometimes, especially with bull vocalizations and others, who doesn't respond and who doesn't move, who doesn't do anything. When you start putting elk in front of you, watching these things from a critical standpoint, it's a game changer. And so that's what Roe, so about 2010, so my wife and I, for about 2000, we started our consulting business, Roe Ecological Services. And then about 2010, that's where I branched. So all of our big game management, consulting, and education now is all housed under my Roe hunting resources. And that's what we got now. It's an online educational resource. Subscription based. We kicked that off in 2010, and we've just been rocking and rolling ever since.
Man.
So the Roe hunting resource thing is semi interactive then, I guess. And that, I guess, for somebody like me is a huge thing. Cause, being a guy that I've had, I can count on one hand how many elk I've had in front of me. You can, that really speaks a lot. You can sit and listen to somebody until you're tired of listening to them. But if you can't see it in front of you,
it would certainly shorten the learning curve.
100%.
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure I'm good with that.
Yeah. Dude, you joke about that, but you would not be surprised the number of people that I have had come back to me. Maybe I'll do a promotion or I'll release a new set of videos or something like that, and I'll get the word out. Half-hearted joking, tongue-in-cheek, but not really joking. People are like, dude, I really don't want you. I don't want to share this because this is like serious. This has made me a lot more successful, and I don't want guys to know it because I'm actually performing or in their hunting party. Now, all of a sudden, they're the designated caller. And so it's funny you should say that. But to your point,
there's some validity to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because we spent 20 plus years learning it, and now some Joe Schmedley goes out there in 6 months and goes, I got it.
Yeah, but you tack on Onyx, right? You tack on Google Earth. All of the game and fish departments have these incredible pages where it shows you draw odds and success rates.
Go Hunt's a big one.
Yeah.
You see their new tool?
I haven't messed with it yet, but I've seen it teased.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. I'm actually going to do a podcast with Aaron here coming up about some of this stuff and the end result of what we see in the backcountry. I don't want to jump way too far ahead, but I think today with not only technology, but clothing. Somebody asked me today, he's like, have you ever seen Predator camouflage? I'm like, oh, brother, Predator. I love Predator camouflage. I was wearing Predator before even Predator was cool. But guess what? Predator doesn't have merino wool. Predator doesn't have unfortunately, doesn't have some of the high performance clothing that we have right now. And I just chose to go a different direction because I wanted the clothing. But between, whether it's our clothing, whether it's our mapping, whether it's our backpacks, our boots, our bows, our rangefinders, and now with the online education stuff we have, oh my, do I wish I could have the encounters. I just wish. It's funny. There's people that say, live with no regrets. I have no regrets. You're full of shit or you're a liar because you're not thinking hard enough. Because I'll tell you right now, there's some times back about 1996 and I think about that 360-inch bull that walked out of the Aspens and came to me, and it was my first encounter. I didn't know what to do. Oh, could I have that back? Could I please have that experience back? Because I know exactly what I would do now, and I'd be coming home with a giant bull.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But Blake, for your point, as from an education standpoint, I do break it down so that someone like you can digest it easily. So we'll have the foundation portion where it's me talking about, here are the nuts and bolts. Here's what behavior is, and here's what they're doing. Here's why they're doing it. And I show elk doing it. And then here are the vocalizations that the cows are doing. You can see the cows doing it. Here are the vocalizations bulls are doing, and you can see them doing it. And I explain what's going on. But then the next part is what I call recognition. It's called the gallery, and it's literally hours of me or my wife videoing elk, doing elk things in September, August, from mid-August through about end of October, roughly in that neighborhood. The bulk of it. We got some winter stuff in there too, but the bulk of the meat and potatoes that everybody wants. You're watching elk interact with other elk, not in a hunting capacity. Why? Because all too often when we're hunting, we're trying to capitalize on the first opportunity we have. And which means sometimes we try to push the issue and say, okay, I'm going to get a shot in that hole or right there. But what we didn't know, because we didn't let things play out, if we had let it play out another maybe 30 minutes, he would have been standing 7 steps from you broadside. Well, okay, when we're hunting, we have the pressure to perform and get an animal on the ground. But when I'm just simply videoing, I don't care what happens. Yeah. Let everything unfold, and now we can get and watch who's talking to who's responding, what are they saying, what response are they getting, and who is doing the vocalizing. Is it that giant dominant bull that's in the middle of the harem? Or is it the satellite bull? Or is a bull in a distance? And who responded, if anybody? The gallery lets people just sit there, and then if you want to practice, okay, I'll just hit play and just mimic everything that you hear. And then the next section is the strategies and action section, where we say, okay, we'll take the foundation principles, we'll take what we learned and saw in the gallery. Now let's go into the field. Let's go out. Let's find a bull. Let's locate him. Okay, this is this is the situation. And a lot of times I'll tell, okay, there's a bull over here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to call this way. We'll see what happens. Bam, put him in, 7, 10, 13, whatever steps in front of you. My goal, so people are listening, number one, I'm a solo hunter. Now, I will go hunt with friends, but I do not do the 2 or multi-person calling setup for myself on my hunts. I'm a solo guy, so I need to be able to put those animals in front of my shooting window and my effective range. Number one. Number two, my value set is an elk standing in my shooting lane 20 yards and under. That's for me, that's a call in. Now, granted, there may be some open timber habitats where the bull steps out and he's broadside 33 yards. Okay, fine, kill him. Or he steps out and he's 40 yards. Okay, fine. If you can shoot him, shoot him. But my goal, sub 20, right where I want it, right in the doorway, right where I want to take him. So that's what the website tries to help people understand from a science is rigorous of a scientific process as possible. I just talked about this over on the Elk Collective videos. You can never, from a behavioral sciences and a research standpoint, I really don't think you can ever prove something to be. All you can do is disprove it. And that's important because if you go out, and there's a lot of people that do this, they will see something and, okay, I did this and this animal did this. And those two things were correlated. Well, correlation is not necessarily causation. Doesn't mean one caused the other. And there's a lot of people who go out over and over and over and see if they keep finding examples of what worked or what they believe to be true. That's fine until the one time or the first time something proves it not to be true. Doesn't matter if I have 100 examples of something. The first time it becomes disproven, all 100 examples are no longer valid. So really, if you want to dive into some of this stuff with any sort of integrity, you really need to have a focus on, number one, getting a bunch of videos so you can really sit and watch it objectively. Number one. Number two, always try to disprove your theories and hypotheses. Can I find something to tear down what I believe? The more times I fail to do so simply means it adds credibility to it. But as soon as I find that one thing that tears apart, it goes back to the drawing board and rethink what's going on. And I'm literally currently in the process right now. In the next couple of weeks, I'm sharing a couple videos about that with some cow vocalization stuff and with some bull vocalization stuff that I think needs to be revisited, because I think we've got some information now we can even further tease some of this stuff apart. So,
first off, man, I don't think you love this stuff enough. I don't see the passion. I'm not seeing a passion.
Wait till I get naked and start jumping and running around and flailing. That's when you do. With the shirt comes off, it's gotten serious.
Yeah, we'll mute you at that point.
I'm not worried about the muting, Blake.
Cancel out the video.
So hey,
I thought you said you guys wanted viewers. I thought you wanted me to bring the pizzazz.
No, this is great stuff, man. You talk about you want to have them inside 20 yards, and this is a traditional bow hunting podcast, and I think that that's really going to speak to the listeners. And you said something that was pretty profound, and I think people should be this way in a lot of things, and is you should always constantly be trying to disprove yourself, because if you're not you're not learning anything, or you're not diving deep enough down into what you may like. So I really, that spoke to me. So,
well, and it's uncomfortable.
Yes, it is.
Do you know who Jordan Peterson is? Have you ever heard of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I did listening to you on somebody's podcast. I heard that name.
He's a clinical psychologist, and I the guy's just he really resonates with me. And I really do believe if I didn't get into wildlife, I would have gone into psychology. And that's the thing is, he was talking about it from a standpoint of goals, and a lot of people don't set clear goals and clear objectives and goals in their lives, because if you did, when you are failing them. Not only does it, you need to, because you need to know where you're going, but the scary part about that is when you're not headed there, when you fail. And that part is what a lot of people get scared of, and that's why they don't do it. Same thing with calling and what we're talking about now. There's a lot of people that don't. It's funny. I've heard from a lot of, I won't say a lot because they don't talk to me. There's a number of people that literally have said, yeah, well, I like your stuff, but it's a little, I just want you to tell me what to do. What, just tell me what I need to do. No, that's not what I'm going to do. The reason why they want that is because if I tell them what to do and it doesn't work, well then, Chris, no. But if I teach you, and you start diving into a full understanding of it, that's when all of a sudden it goes, crap, do I really understand what I'm doing when I'm bugling, or don't I? You start diving into my stuff, not saying you have to believe it, but again, argue with the elk. You start diving into my stuff, it's going to change. There's a lot in there that is probably going to change the way you look at elk calling, let alone what you thought you knew about elk vocalizations, behavior, and the whole 9 yards. So no, you're right. I'm glad you said that, because that is my why. That is the core of what I value is, okay, how much of a deep understanding can we have? Because the more we have, when we go on the landscape and something is just a little different than what we expected, if we have an understanding of what's going on, we can adapt and roll with it rather than just getting completely confused and no idea of what to do after this point. You're laughing. Go ahead.
This is going to tie right into it. And I do want to get into, maybe some scenarios and stuff, but
sure.
I have a buddy. I've pretty much exclusively hunted with one guy for 20 something years. And I always turn to him and say, when it doesn't work out, everybody thinks if you get into a situation and the bull didn't come in and something happens and the situation is all lost, you always think you did something wrong. If you don't kill them, you always think you did something wrong. But in fact, you were there for maybe an hour, maybe 15 minutes. You have no idea what is in that elk's world in the last 12 hours, in the last 6 hours, in the last 30 minutes. So we all, for me, I think everybody looks at the here and now. Oh my gosh, I should have done this, or oh, I should have done that. But we really don't know what transpired leading up to this encounter.
Oh, that's perfect. And that's literally why I bake people's noodles on the fact that I say, when I go and for my collie strategies and my fundamental philosophy, if you will, on calling, get rid of testosterone, ignore testosterone, ignore estrogen cycling. Why in the world am I going to play to testosterone when that is a wild card on the landscape? I have no idea. And here we're talking about, whether you're talking about hunting Washington or Oregon or Idaho, or whether you're talking about Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, you have different herd dynamics, different sex ratios in the herds. You have different age structure in those herds. Every unit has a different hunter pressure in that area. There's different habitats that they're going to have to deal with. They have different environmental factors where, what was the moisture cycling versus not the moisture cycling? Do the cows have calves at their side? Did they lose their calves? Are there mature bulls in there? Are they all young, even age? There's so many different variables that we cannot, not only can we not control them, we don't know them. Because I can go in Colorado right now. There are places where I can go on that side of the ridge and have multiple age classes of animals, a diverse age structure, a good bull to cow ratio, and then right over on this side of the mountain, completely opposite. But the elk go back and forth all the time. Well, I don't know who I'm going to play with when I come in there and engage him. I don't know, not until I see them. And especially if they're a little tight-lipped and they're not talking as much. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so many variables that is going on in that situation where skip it. Why don't I go to the fundamental core of what they do 365, well, 335. Let's skip the 30 days in September. Let's go to the other 335 days a year when there is not, or 300 days a year. Let's just put it that way, where testosterone's not a factor, where estrogen cycling is not a factor. What are they doing in December? That's exactly the same as what they're doing in April. That happens to be exactly the same as they are when they're with their individual calf at the end of May, sequestered with their little one before it gets big enough to where they can move up to their summer range. And oh, by the way, in July, when they're all up there on the summer range and now we have multiple cows and calves together, oh yeah, they're doing the exact same thing that they were doing in January. You want to argue with me why that would be any different than what they would be doing in September? If we take testosterone and estrogen out of it. Yeah. So why do we play to that? Other than it's sexy, okay? And everybody wants a bull to come screaming in their face. That's fine. I can teach you to do that, and I can still give you the base foundation. Because I know a lot of people out there don't care whether or not they actually have a bull screaming at them. If the bull simply goes, gives one little mew, and walks down and stands 20 yards or 15 yards or 10 yards in front of their shooting lane and gives them a broadside shot, how many people are going to be like, no, he didn't bugle. Keep going. I'll go and just keep. No, 99% of the population isn't that. I talk about, again, there are some people that do want that bugling interaction, and it's a legit, valid value set. And it absolutely, if you want that, go for it. But I give the example all the time of the Valley of the 10 Bulls. If there's a valley here and there's 10 bulls in that valley, my value set and philosophy is that I want to go into that valley and be able to work all 10 of those animals however they want to play, whatever they need in order for them to come to me. There are some people that will wade into that valley and say, I want to find the one bull that wants to scream in my face and play my game. That's fine. It all depends on what me, the listener, what is your personal value set? And especially if you're in a situation where you're going to a unit that's heavily hunted. You've got 15 bulls per 100 cows. It's heavily rifle hunted. What is your median age class on your bulls? 2.5, 3.5? That's a young animal. So if you're dealing with younger age class animals, how many of those animals are you going to really find that want to just scream at you? Versus they were a baby just not too long ago. Quite honestly, 6 months to a year ago, they still had the psychological dependency on the cow social group. So they were with that cow social group. They still want the safety blanket of that cow social group. Why in the world would I want to make my life harder? Why don't I just come in on that base level of understanding of behavior and vocalizations and just tell them exactly what I want them to do?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I wish I would have dove into this a little bit earlier, because last year we had a bull that was feeding up above tree line early in the morning, bugling. And there was another bull down the ridge that he was bugling back and forth with, and he had probably 10 or 15 cows. And this is selfish of me. I just want to hear what you think. He started working down, and we kind of started trying to cut him off. We weren't calling at him, and he crossed the ridge to drop down in the timber a little bit further down from us than we thought he would. And, we just thought, hell, we'll just bugle at him, piss him off. And as soon as we bugled and he started raking a tree, he hauled ass. And, which it's an over-the-counter unit. Neither of us had hunted elk much. And, it just, you see it work on TV all the time. And so that's what we thought we needed to do. And they tucked tail and took off.
I talk about all the time, lovers and fighters. Yeah. And quite honestly, I've seen some of the biggest bulls. And this has come from Arizona, my experience down in Arizona, where you got like 10-year-old bulls, the biggest of the big, 400-inch bulls, depending on what year you're on down there. So I've literally watched fully mature giant bulls absolutely cut and run when another bull gets too big, another bull gets too close or somebody bugles at them. They're like, I'm out, and we're out of here. And in Colorado, I've seen, at least in Colorado, some of these units where you're dealing with low bull to cow ratios, and we're dealing with some of these, where the average bull is 2.5, 3.5, you might stumble into a 4.5-year-old bull. The one thing that people need to realize when it comes to competition, there's a lot of bull. You hear people like, I want to find that bull. He came in looking for a fight. How many times do you watch a video or hear somebody talk about, look, he's coming in looking for a fight? His head is up. His ears are forward. He's just coming. No, he's curious. He's 2.5 years old. How cocky can this guy be, really? Okay. So, but when you look on the landscape, all of a sudden now the group of cows really doesn't have a mature bull to pick from. So they just got to go, you're going to be good enough. And so you got a bull 3 cows, a bull 5 cows, a bull with 4 cows, that bull's got 1 cow and he's happy. I mean, it's the first cow he's ever had. He's like, she's mine. And you got that bull and that cow over those cows over there, and that bull and his cows, that bull and those cows, and they just fragment on across the landscape. And they all just are like, we're not going to mess with anybody. Why? Because when it comes to conflict, it's not the voice, it's the body size and the aggression and the confidence of that bull. Well, if they're all of the same age class, roughly, and they all have similar body size, it's any man's guess on who's going to be the more dominant individual. So they would rather take, especially younger age class bull, they would rather take, sometimes I've seen where they would rather take their 4 and just go sequester themselves than to go out there to try to get 8 and risk losing everything. And so a lot of times you get on these public land units and you hear people say all the time, well, man, it seemed like beginning or before season, you could hear bugle. And then all of a sudden season started. And no, I don't hear anything. Yeah, they will flat shut down. They'll hole up with their cows. And when that first cow starts cycling into estrus, okay, maybe we'll have some vocalizations. But in that meantime, boy, that can be that no man's land where you can't buy a bugle, So no, this is where my opinion, this is where an understanding of behavior plays dividends on understanding what's going on in the landscape. And then how do I pick the tool out of my toolbox that is fit for this task at hand, this job that I need to do? Weasel this bull out of that cover, or call to that bull that's up on the alpine with his cows. Or what do I do if he beat me, he dropped into the timber, now I'm behind him. Yeah, now what? Okay, well, we can go through those,
Well, you're gonna laugh, and I'm sure of it, but I've elk hunted for a few years, and I'm just gonna tell you how I go about it. I'm gonna go to some country that I'm relatively familiar with. I scouted a little bit. Opening day, I'm going to walk down the ridges pre-dawn, and I'm just going to squeal, just like a spike, or a young bull.
Okay.
And I'm going to cover country all day and just squeal in these basins till it gets hot, and I'm going to lay up, and then come 5:00 in the evening, I'm going to work my way back up. And that's what I do. And you're going to laugh, and you're going to tell me what I'm doing wrong, and I'm looking forward to it.
No, I mean, what you're doing is you're looking for a bull that wants to respond to another bull vocalization. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing, or you're hoping that a cow responds to you. Maybe she's interested in finding out who this new guy is coming along in the landscape. That's an absolute tactic that can work. The question I have for you is, as you're moving across that landscape, are you encountering fresh elk sign?
Oh, yeah. No, until I do, I'm moving. When I do, yeah.
That's okay. So fair enough. So you're moving across the landscape, just giving that type of, just that little high pitched, what I call a level 1 contact bugle, mm-hmm. just to see if you get a response, correct?
Yep.
And then when you hit fresh elk sign, what do you do then?
Well, if I'm not hearing anything and I'm moving along and I hit fresh elk sign, I'm camping. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to figure out, okay, so were they here in the evenings? Is this a feeding area? Am I close to a bedding area? Chances are they heard me an hour ago. I'm
Yep.
sure of it.
Yep.
So they didn't want to talk. So I'm just going to camp here and maybe throw a few cow calls out and eat a sandwich. It's like eating a sandwich is a hell of a tactic.
Correct. It is, because it parks your butt on a spot and lets you sit and listen for a while. Yeah. Earlier we were just talking about what people think they did something wrong. Sometimes what they did wrong was simply they got up and moved too soon. Mm-hmm. There's some scenarios in the strategies and action section where literally for instance, I'm working on one right now. It was a 4-hour interaction. Now, obviously, I'm not going to put all 4 hours on a video because people fall asleep, but it took 4 hours for that bull to finally stopped out there at broadside at about 9 steps. But that wasn't because the bull wanted it. I called the cow out, and he followed her to come round her up. So, and I've got sometimes where the bull will come in and I comment just point blank. You watch the bull come in, he stops in that doorway, and he just stands and just start the clock. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. He's standing right there. Ears going, looking. He's just waiting to hear those knuckle cracks. He's just waiting to hear somebody. There's a lot of information packed in there, but he knows where you should be. And he knows you were calling, which means you should have been up on your feet doing something. You're here somewhere. What does he got? It's not like his kid's got soccer practice. Where's he going? Nowhere. He lives there. He's in his house. So where does he got to go? If you just called him out of his bedding area, well, his bedding area is 80 yards over there. Well, if all the habitat's the same, I don't care. I'll stand here for the next 6 hours. So sometimes those bulls start coming, and all of a sudden they don't show up, and we think, oh, well, we must have screwed up. No, he's just waiting. So maybe all you do is need to wait a little bit longer. So far, what you're telling me, no, I don't have a problem with it. The only thing maybe I would suggest that you change on that is, all right, if you're walking across the landscape and you're not getting a response from a contact bugle, and the bugle that you're using is great because it's asking for a response, not necessarily an action, it's asking for a response. But like I just said before, you may be dealing with a valley of bulls that it is not in their best interest to either A, let another bull know where they are, and B, damn it, why can't I have someone bringing me in beverages?
You can see that? That kid's an assistant. He's my assistant, man.
Thought you were going to slide that one in, didn't you?
I didn't realize. We're going to move the camera, damn it.
Anyway, I digress. So the point being is if you're going, so it sometimes is not in the bull's best interest to let another bull know, A, where he is, especially if he's got cows, and B, you don't know the bull that you're engaging. How do you know he hasn't gotten his butt whipped 18 different times by every single bull that walked into that valley? And he's like, you know what? Screw a bunch of this. I'm out. I'm not a bull, another bull. Nope. I'm going to sit up in this little pocket, up in this dark timber. I got 2 ladies with me. I'm happy. I'm going to keep my mouth shut and just, I don't want, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to get, horned in the side by another bull. Screw a bunch of this. Whereas, if you're not getting a response with a bugle, maybe flip that over to the cow vocalization side, do the exact same thing with a lost mew and say, okay, where are you? Give me a response. Don't put the bugle in there. Quite honestly, don't put the bugle in there. Just play like you're a lone cow, or maybe you're a cow and calf, or better yet, maybe you're a calf seeking someone. Now it's maybe in his best interest to vocalize to you. Say, yeah, we're up here. That's all I need to know. Give up your location. Where are you? Now, bam, got you, sucker. All right, I'm going to move my way up in there. Again, I talk about this too. I will always call as much as I have to. Or no, I will always call as much as I need to, never any more than I have to. And so if I can come in on that base fundamental communication, if he wants to respond to that, great. Tell him exactly what you want him to do. If he's a younger bull, age class bull, again, he was a baby not too long ago. He wants the safety net of an adult cow or that cow group. Give it to him. Tell him what you want him to do. If he needs a little bit more, maybe he's a little older or whatever, he's sequestered there. If you start at the foundation, you can always build up in intensity and or aggressive tactics or aggression in your calling. The problem is I see a lot of guys just going right in on an aggressive tactic. Or in your case, you're going right in with a bull vocalization. The problem is you've already put in his brain, there's a bull there. So even if you rotate over to cow calls, he's going to say, oh, there's cows there. You just 10 minutes ago bugled. So he's going, okay, so I've got, there's cows. No, there's a bull with cows. Crap. That's a bull with cows. Crap. Is he a dominant bull? Is he a bull with a harem? Well, crap. Now, damn it. Now he might be a player. He might be someone I need to worry about. Now I will hang back and just be cautious. Maybe I will give him 2-3 hours and figure out where they settle down. And now I want to sneak in and eyeball this dude to say, exactly who am I dealing with? Versus if you never put the bugle in there to begin with, the only thing he's got going for it, he's like, well, that sounds like a cow or that sounds like a calf. Well, is this my lucky day? I'm up here. Okay, so now he just gave up his location. Now you can get up there and play. And if he responds like that, he was not responding to bugles earlier, like say the night before. But they're in an area that has a lot of elk activity in it or elk sign in it. They're there somewhere. The first day, you go through your area just like you normally do. Didn't work. Okay. Well, the next day, pull a different tactic. Maybe use cow vocalizations, starting at the foundational level, go through that landscape and see what change, if anything, see if something is different, see if you get a different response. If you do, then you need to compare and contrast. You're like, okay, yesterday I did this and I got nothing. Today I did this and I got something. Okay, let me pull on that thread a little bit. Let me continue with that until that no longer works, and then I can build from there. Don't hamstring yourself right off the get-go. But I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I would just, other than doing it day after day after day after day, change it up.
Now, I'm the consummate old guy, because this is how we were all taught, right? You watch the Will Primos videos and you're like, dude, I've killed elk. I don't need to watch that. I watch it to see you kill something, but I'm not listening to what you have to say. So that's an admission, right? That's just, so now I'm walking down that ridge and I'm just dying to bugle because I've waited for a whole year. I'm dying to bugle.
I've just been practicing for 3 months, damn it. I've got to show somebody.
But when I hit that cow call, I know I'm just giving a little mew, but in my head, I'm like, dang, I only got like 400 yards down that hill. And there is a mile to the bottom. There's elk down there and they haven't heard me. So that's what's working through my head. So I'll hit cow calls once in a while, but I go, hey, man, how far is that carrying? Now, it's amazing. It is amazing sometimes when you hear a bull, answer way across the canyon to this little cow call, but it's working in my head. Like, no, I want this little squealing bugle to cover some ground.
Yeah, the thing is, there's a lot of cow vocalization. Okay, I'm not poo-pooing your bugle.
Oh, no, this is good conversation. Absolutely do it.
Because the other thing, too, I talk about is maybe they don't want, again, so you'll hear people talk all the time about calling with emotion. Add emotion, you want to call with emotion. My criticism of that is, if I said, show me some emotion, go ahead and show me some emotion right now. Your brain first has to make a choice. Happy emotion, sad emotion, angry emotion, frustrated emotion. Emotion embellishes an underlying idea. Emotion in itself is not a standalone item. It's an add-on. So when people say call with emotion, okay, but when we're talking about elk vocalizations, that you can add emotion to your calling, but it adds to whatever the base vocalization you're saying. So am I going to add emotion to a lost mew that says, where are you? And I want a response.
Yeah.
Or am I going to add emotion to what I call an assembly mew that says, I want you to come here? Am I going to add emotion to, or intensity to, a contact, what I call a contact bugle, where it's asking for a response? Or am I going to add emotion to a dominant bugle that says, stay the frickin' hell away, if you're a bull?
Yeah. Okay.
So you've got to first identify, say, okay, what is it I'm saying? Once you go from there, okay, let's talk about that. And I talk about a level 1, level 2, level 3 type of intensity level. So you and I, the three of us, were talking at a level 1, right? Base general communication.
Right. Blake and I are. You're 1.5 too.
Okay, so maybe, hey, that's a perfect point. Okay, so all right, yes, thank you for making my point. So I might be at a level 2. You're at a level 1. Maybe I get bored with your level 1 and be like, I need a level 2. Otherwise, it's not fun for me, and I'm just going to sign off. The point being is, you might be going across the landscape giving that level 1 intensity, and that bull's down the hill going, or up the hill, just like, I don't care. and then you step it up and you be like, all right, dang it, I asked for a response. Who's out there? And they look down the hill and they're like, who the frickin' heck is this guy? And they just kind of dismiss it and they go about what they're doing. And so you're like, you know what, sucker? Fine. I'm going to go full on level 3. I'm going to give a full on bugle, high note, hold it, hit some chuckles at the end to where the bull's like, fine. Bugles at you. Maybe he just gives you a level 1, just a little bit of something. Sometimes, if it's a more mature bull, sometimes you'll just hear him just get that chuckle. No, you just get that chuckle. So sometimes, and again, say it took 3 different levels of intensity. You had to bump up to really kind of get him to finally give you something. Well, just like you and I, if you get a response, when you go to, if you pinpointed him, great. You don't, again, call as much as you have to, not or as much as you need to, not any more than you have to. If you've pinpointed him, great. Move in, get set up, and then start your calling sequence. But if you still need to pinpoint him or you're still trying to close distance, the next time I engage him, I'm going to go with that level 1. I'm going to come in. Okay, our line of communication's open. But you will find there are some bulls that just don't have any desire to respond to a level 1 or a level 2 intensity. Maybe they need that level 3 intensity. So if you're going to be moving across the landscape, so before I move on, if I find a bull that it takes 2 or 3 times of me hitting with a level 3 in order for him to, at that point, fine, screw you. That's what you want. I'm going to give you that. But if you're cruising the landscape like you are, and you're not getting a response to that one particular vocalization, don't leave all the other tools in your toolbox without at least trying a couple. All right? Maybe if you want to stick with bull vocalizations, fine. But before you move too far, maybe bump up to a level 2, give it 5, 10, whatever. It all depends on the activity. You know those days where it's just dead quiet, you don't even want to step on wet grass, versus those days where the squirrels are throwing pine cone bombs out of the trees, the birds are flying everywhere, ravens are circling, going nuts. If it's alive in the woods, maybe I'll give it 5, 10 minutes. If it's dead quiet, I might give it 30 minutes or an hour before I move on, but I'm going to bump up my intensity level just to see what they want.
So you're gonna sit there for an hour, but you're going to bugle every
20 minutes
or something. Yeah, 20 minutes.
I'll give them a level 1, let it sit and wait. Nothing. Maybe I bump up to a level 2. Sit and wait. Nothing. Bump up to a level 3. Still nothing. Okay, I'm moving on. And obviously,
yeah,
this absolutely. It depends on how much country you need to cover. So you might only have 3 hours in the morning that's really usable, and you've got a gargantuan ridge or a gargantuan valley you want to cover. Well, obviously you're going to have, by default, you're going to have to travel faster. The question is, are you walking by elk in order to go find other elk?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. That happens often.
Yeah, oh, very much so. Yes.
Yeah. Let me throw you a couple of. This is one that has happened to me a couple of times, and it's so cool. You're working a bull. He's not super excited, but you set up, and he comes in. You can hear him coming. It takes him a while, and before you know it, he's on top of you. You don't realize it, but he's on top of you, and he gives you a full bugle like you're whistling right there, but super quiet. That is the coolest. It's happened to, that is the cool. It's like, now to me, it always like, hey, I'm here. Where are you? It's like no aggression. I don't know. I'm asking, this is a question, 0 aggression, but it's like, okay, bud, I'm here. Where are you?
Yes.
And you can see him. I mean, we're talking 15, 20 yards, but It's just the quietest little bugle.
Yep. And that is exactly what it is for. All right, I just made up all this distance. I know you're here somewhere. Where are you? Where are you?
That is the coolest.
Oh, yeah. And I hope at that point it's a dead bull. I guess unless it's a little bit too young for you or whatever, or he's too thick. But, yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's like, where? I'm here. I came. I did where are we? Where are you?
Yeah.
Well, Rob, do you want to go into kind of each one of, or at least some of the elk sounds, and kind of break down what each one is?
Well, don't ask me, ask the man right there.
Well, Chris, let's start at the bottom.
I tell you what,
you mentioned
I've got a whole website on it. So yeah, okay. I was going to say, you ask me, and we'll dive into them.
Okay, so you mentioned the lost mew. I mean, how do you differentiate these things from one another? Is it just I guess it's pitch and length.
There you go. That's a good guess. So length does have a lot to do with it. There is if you look from, there's a whole spectrum of different vocalizations they make, but you will see the different ones play out differently and used differently. And there is a length component to it. And also on what part of that vocalization they emphasize. So whether they emphasize the high note, whether they emphasize the low note, whether or not they're stringing two or more together. But a lost mew, absolutely, that holds or accentuates that high note and then comes off that. So you'll hear lost calves, really, really loud, very, very short. That's the number one vocalization you hear. People talk about all the time. You'll hear them talk, there are a bunch of cows out there chirping immune and blah, blah. No, they weren't. You literally sit back and listen to it. 99% of them were all lost mews from younger age class animals. And there was thrown in a few assembly mews in there saying, no, come to me. Here's where we're going to go. Or maybe a contact mew in there. But yeah, hold that high note or accentuate the high note and then fall off at the end.
Is that would you think that's typically the herd is moving on the move?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but yes, typically, the fundamental thing people need to realize is that elk communicate vocally only when visual communication does not give them the information they need. They're a herd animal. The vast majority of communication within the group is all visual. It's head position, ear position, neck, how they approach one another, whether they kick or whether they, it's all body clues and cues that do the vast amount of communication. Only when they cannot keep track of one another or get the information that they want visually that they go to vocalizations. There can be a number of reasons why that can happen, but one of them is, they're on the move, and they're especially in thick timber or thick cover or a lot of terrain, a lot of, changes in habitat or whatever, where they just can't keep track of one another visually. Yep.
Okay. So I hear a lot of people talk about the estrus mew all the time, and I believe I've heard you go on a rant or two about that.
No, not at all.
Nice work,
so you want me to bump up to level 3? Is that what I'm hearing you?
Well, I'm just, this is our first time having you on, and I know you're passionate about that call in particular and your opinion on it, and I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
It doesn't exist. The estrus call doesn't exist. And I've got a YouTube. I've got a lot of video of that vocalization. It just doesn't, it doesn't mean what people have said it means or what people want it to mean. And again, like I said at the very beginning, there's a lot of people that just say, well, just tell me what to do. Tell me the one thing or two things that I need to do. And everybody likes to go hunt September because of bugling and because of the bulls are running around all horny and not thinking straight sometimes. Well, the reason why they're doing that is because the cows are coming into heat. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about whitetails or elk. If you can put an asterisk something in front of something, or, it's going to sell. It's going to sell calls. It's going to sell ideas. It's going to sell DVDs. It's going to sell VHS tapes. It's going to, it started off with a hyper hot cow call back in the day, and then it morphed into that estrus mew, the estrus scream, the estrus buzz, the estrus whine, or whatever. The problem is the vocalization that they're using as the example of what they're talking about with estrus tacked onto the front of it is the same vocalization you can get in December, that you can get in March, that you can get in April and May and June and July and August. And quite honestly, I can show you repeatedly that quite honestly, you're going to get a lot more of those vocalizations in December, January, February, and June, July, and August than you will in September, just by the nature of the herd dynamics and the behavioral proclivity of elk wanting to be in either small groups in September or larger groups in the winter or summer. It just flat doesn't exist. It's not that it's a legit vocalization. I mean, elk use it or elk do it. Cows, you go to YouTube, Jay Scott on Jay Scott's podcast, we had a long discussion about it. And literally somebody just posted some to Estes Park. The Estes Valley is Estes Park, Estes Valley.
I think it's Estes
Facebook
Park.
Page. Yeah, Estes Park Facebook page. This woman got awesome video of these elk crossing up through the road, going through the timber, and cows just just laying into it, just going. Yeah, so it skip the connotation. And the reason why I go on rants about it is not because I have any issue with people calling it whatever they want to call it. Go ahead. By all means, do. And if you want to use it in September, thumbs up. I do. I've got an entire video that used that. The reason why that group of elk stepped in front of me was simply because that is the vocalization I used. They did not want to respond to anything else. I just started laying into that open read style call and just cranking it. Finally got him to sucker out and come right into me. Just giant bull. Okay. So it's a legit tool. The reason why I make the distinction that it's not an estrus call is because guess what, folks? There are some of us that aren't going to be hunting in September. There are some late season archery hunts. There are some late season cow hunts. And Utah starts August, 15th? Yeah. You don't have to be in the middle of, if you use the connotation estrus anything, in your brain, you think, well, it has to simulate a cow that's coming into estrus. Well, if you're not hunting in a time period where you have cows in estrus, you are more likely to leave that tool in your toolbox and not pull it out because you think, well, there's no cow in estrus right now, so I can't use it. Wrong. Quite honestly, early October or middle of August might be an awesome time to use that vocalization. And quite honestly, if you have a late season cow tag, that is an awesome vocalization to use because you're more apt to hear it then than you will actually in September. So that's why I go on a rant about it, because people think that it's only for one thing when, man, it can be used for so many different scenarios.
And what are the different things that it could mean? I know you say you hear it all year round. Well, what is an elk trying to say when they use it? The
best information I have now is basically it's just an extension of velocity. So it's basically asking for my opinion is it's an extreme measure of asking for a response. Where are you? Damn it. It's just we want to put emotion to our calling. Fine. Let's take a look at the structure of that call. Holds or accentuates the high note, falls off the end. It just might be raspy through the whole thing. Okay. What's a lost view? So a lost view is nice and clean, but high to low, holds or accentuates the high note. What I have dubbed it when I talk on my website, it's a selfish mute because you can have a lot of other cow vocalizations going on, and when that cow does that, pay attention to me, listen to me, give me a response. Where are you? So I think it's just an extension of that. I don't think it really is a standalone vocalization. I think it's the essential level 3 version of a lost mute.
Okay, that makes total sense.
I don't, again, can never prove something to be. All you can do is disprove it. At this point, that interpretation seems to be consistent throughout the year and throughout dozens of, there's a pile of them on the website you can watch. From summer range to winter range, all the above, you can hear them. You can stand there and look at her. You can see her. You can see where the herd's going. You can see where the other herd is. You can see where the calves are going. And it's July. I'm telling you, she's got a little spotted calf next to her. and she's not cycling in estrus. So
to your point, I've had the good fortune to spend some extended periods of time watching elk in December, right? And, the air is really clear. It's cold. You're across the canyon, and it is amazing the different vocalizations you'll hear. I mean, it's all across the board in December, right?
Yeah.
And then in like May and June, I've had times where I've been able to be around big herds for extended period of time, and the sounds that you hear come out of a cow are just phenomenal. I mean, they're nothing like mainstream people talk about. I mean, they're damn near bugling at times. They do crazy sounds. December, man, I hear bulls bugle quite often in December. They just, yeah. So to your point, there is it's because we're in the woods with a call in our hand in September. There's 11 other months that you're probably not hearing vocalizations that actually occur.
And again, that next level discussion, you take that and say, yeah, not only that, but there's a lot there. If you're only looking in September, you are always going to be clouded with the estrogen cycling and the testosterone cycling and the interspecific conflicts between bulls and their tendency to either repel each other or violently exchange if they need to. But most of the time the bulls want to be apart. And then the cows themselves also want to be separated. They want their own little tight-knit group, and they want to do their own thing. So if you're only looking in September and you're only basing your knowledge base off of September, like you said, you are missing a ton of material out there that is going to be just as relevant, if not more relevant, when you are hunting September.
Okay, let me give you another scenario. 2:00 in the afternoon, it's hotter than crap. Noontime, it's hotter than crap. You're sitting on a hillside. You got a nice north slope below you. You got the wind right. You're sitting up on the ridge. Your thermals are rising, but it's real cool and damp on that north side. And 2:00 in the afternoon, you hear just a down below you, 200 yards down below you. Tell me what's going on.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but I know what I'm going to do. If a bull's going to bugle at me, I'm going to play. I mean, and the part about that is what you said. The wind is right. So if we're dealing with a consistent wind, and the wind can be played with in a way that puts it in at least a neutral, maybe it's not blowing in my face, but I can have it blowing parallel, past that bull to where I know he's not going to smell me. Oh, I'm absolutely going to
for me, I'm sitting there and I'm going to wait him out, because to me, he's bugling, and I'm not trying to teach you anything. Don't get me wrong, but
sure,
I'm going to sit there and I'm like, okay, he's bugling in his bed, and he might bugle 3 or 4 times, but by 6:00 in the evening, he's going to herd me up here 3 or 4 times with a lazy bugle. And at 5, 6 o'clock, when he's ready to get up, he's going to be irritated listening to me. That's how I work it. I was just interested in your take. So you're going to start sneaking in on him.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Why would I because I don't know in 4 hours if all of a sudden a thunderstorm, a little cumulus cloud comes rolling over top of me and it changes the thermals completely, blows my scent right down into the bottom of them and blows them completely off the mountain. And that, oh, by the way, that was the 6th time that's happened in 2 days. And so the cows are like, screw a bunch of this. We're going to head over to the other side of the mountain, and they're gone. And it took me 3 days to find that group, or 3 days to get that one bugle. Oh, hell no. The wind is in my favor now. Yes, sir. And he's bedded. If your premise is that he's in a little bedding area, okay, that means he's not going anywhere. Now, if we take, and I talk about this too, if you want, we don't know if that bull's going to have cows or he's not going to have cows. Depending on the point of the season, depending on the area that we're in, maybe they do, maybe they don't, whatever it is. But if you always err on the side of caution to start and say, okay, maybe he's got cows, It's going to help slow you down on your approach. But depending on what the terrain and the vegetation looks like, if I think I can sneak my way down and get close inside 100 yards of where I think that bull was, oh, yes, I am absolutely going to slip in, get in next to him, and I'm going to use cow vocalizations, and I'm going to try to sucker him out. Because if his cows are bedded, they're not going anywhere. A lot of times they will bugle like that. They get restless. They stretch their legs. They get up and they shake a little bit. Maybe go over here, nibble there, or whatever. He gets up and he's going to check his cows. He's going to go walk around his cows a little bit, make sure everybody's there. If everybody's there and they're not going anywhere, well, then who the heck was she? I wonder who she is over there. If I use a targeted strategy, say, hey, I want you to come out and come to me and check me out. A lot of times you can sucker those bulls midday. You could sucker those bulls right out. Or let's just say it is a bull with cows and he doesn't want to move out of that group. Fine. I'm going to switch. I'm going to see if I can't start playing with a couple of the calves. Get the calves working. See if I can't pull a calf out of that group. Because if I can pull a calf out of that group, at some point, mom is going to want to know where Junior is. And she's going to come out and try to find her young one. Do you think a bull is going to let a cow walk out of his harem without keeping tabs on her? No. I can put you – I can think of one right now, 2, 3 different videos of the strategies in action where that's exactly the play. Late morning, midday, slip in, call a cow out. Bull's going to follow. Thank you very much. Now, obviously, in that situation, you're going to have a calf or a cow maybe in very, very close proximity to you. But that's the beautiful thing with you trad guys. A lot of times you don't – I understand Aaron does a great job talking about trad and Tom Klum and those guys. I'm not talking about snap shooting, but you don't have to go through all of the gyrations that a lot of compound users go through. So literally you could be standing there like a stone with a calf 5 feet from you, as long as the wind is not, going to screw it. And it has no clue you're there. The cow steps out and she's 15. She rounds her little one up and all of a sudden here comes the bull out and he's at 20. He lays his antlers back, kind of tips him a little bit, says, hey, get back to the group. So the calf and the cow turn. And as he turns, all you need to do is done. Thank you very much. Oh, I will absolutely play with that bull. Because here's the other, let me play devil's advocate on your scenario. Unless you know who that bull is, again, how do you know that bull didn't get pestered and pushed out of 18 other bulls and basins and little pockets by other bulls, and he finally found a place to call his own? And now all of a sudden some jackass Yahoo up on top of me, God, where did that bull come from? Come on, can I not have a place of my own? And so, for the next 3 hours, you guys pester each other. And as soon as the cows get up to leave, he's like, screw a bunch of this. And they all just, and they move out and they're gone.
Yep.
He was bugling to tell you, don't freaking come down here. Just, you did mine. Just, no, just leave. No. And then finally, when they get up to move, they just head out. I'm not going to leave that to chance, brother. If you're telling me the wind is good, it's midday, and he's vocalizing, in my opinion, unless the wind swirls, that's a dead elk.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be cocky. Unless the wind swirls, that's a dead elk.
No, this is fun because, again, I'm a consummate old guy. What I've been doing the same thing for 25 years, right? 30 years. And it's fun to start to look back at yourself and go, hey, dumbass, you know how many more elk you could have killed if you just open your mind up and look at things differently? For me, being above them like that, so it's tough. Yeah, it's tough to.
Unless we have some prevailing winds.
Yeah,
and that's where I was talking about. I may not be able to have. Okay, so the up and down is the general concept.
Yeah.
The generalized idea of thermals, but what people forget is you could have a prevailing wind come in on that. Mm-hmm. So if your wind is coming from the west, well, now your thermals are not going straight up or straight down. They're going diagonal up the mountain, or they're going diagonal down the mountain. So I might be able to say, for instance, I'm looking at you on the screen. I'm looking at you as the bull. I'm working my way to you, but the wind is going across us. No, it doesn't have to be perfectly in my face. Yeah. Is it going into his nose? No. Awesome. And quite honestly, if I can play that and use that to my advantage, Oh, hell. If I can, we could talk about that too, but elk only swing around downwind when they didn't get everything they wanted, either visually or vocally, or something just doesn't seem right. But from a communication standpoint, they only do it when they need to. So if I can give them all three scenarios where he can respond, he's responded vocally, but now I'm going to tell him what I want him to do, and I'm going to pull him right to the doorway. He's going to come in. But if he can swing just a little bit and get a nose and just check, he's going to sucker right in where I want him. As long, again, my sense going past him, from his perspective, he's going to be coming in and angling that wind. Let him angle it, because he's going to feel that much more safe.
How often do you see them taking the uphill side? I mean, it makes sense. I've seen it, but how often do you see it? Given all things equal, how often do you see them take the uphill side?
It random, simply because of habitat terrain.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will. Sometimes they absolutely will. But I know for a fact I've lost, and I'm thinking of one hunt with my uncle. I literally put him on the uphill side because there was a little bench up there. It was open. I thought that bull was going to walk right across there and stare in down below us. I said, John, you go here, you cover that, because I thought that was the high end play. Nope. He swung down. He swung down and around below. Hindsight 2020, if you go back and you look at the terrain and the vegetation, no, that was the first place he could see. I talk about the doorway all the time. If he wanted to go to the bench, it was a longer route. He could make a shorter route and go below me and have he could see into the area I was calling from quicker by going low than he would have been high, if that makes sense. There's other times where absolutely I'm like, nope, that bull's going to go right there, and there's a little lip, a little knob, and he's just going to go whip and peek. Sure enough. So I look at it from a standpoint of terrain, and I look at it from a standpoint of vegetation. What gives him the advantage? Sometimes it's terrain or elevation. Absolutely. Not always. Not always.
Well, I'm just asking the dumb questions here. I'm trying to soak all this up because every time I think of a question to ask, you're answering it for me. But, you talk about the doorway. What exactly are you meaning by that?
The first spot where that elk is going to stop and perceive that he should be able to see who's calling.
Okay.
I give a long example of why I call it the doorway, but it's basically where's the first place he can stop and look and see that animal that he's responding to or that he's coming to find.
Right. And then obviously when you're setting up to shoot right there.
Yeah, I want to make sure I've identified that first. There's a lot of people that will pick their setup based on, okay, well, I've got some cover here and I got a shooting lane there and there and there. And okay, yeah, I'm going to set up here because it's good for me.
Yeah.
And they don't think, elk, though. And they exactly. And then all of a sudden the bull hangs up at 80 yards, 60 yards through the timber, and you've got no shot opportunity. And the elk's not going to keep coming because he doesn't need to, because where he's standing, he can look and he goes, nah, I don't see anybody. And he just turns and wanders back off. Or that's when he starts swinging around downwind. I'm going to try to figure out, okay, where from that animal's direction, where he's moving, what's the likely travel corridor. Oh, he's probably coming right through here, the way the terrain is, the way the elk trail is or whatever. Okay, there's a spot right there where he's probably going to stop and he's going to sit and he's going to look and he should be able to see down here. So I'm going to make sure I am within the range, my effective yardage of that spot. So that way when he does hit it, he just stops on his own and eats an arrow.
So you're on one side of a meadow and the bull's bugling on the other side of the meadow. You're going to do your damnedest to try and get to the other side of that meadow before the elk gets there.
Or
correct?
Either that, which is a risky play because you don't know unless you're very familiar with what your habitat looks like.
Right.
He might be 200 yards inside that timber. You've been there. You're walking across the landscape and 300 yards in front of you, you go, oh, it looks like a meadow down there. Why? Because you can see the open meadow through the open timber.
Right.
All of a sudden, here come this two-legged little black dot running across the, screw that, I'm out. Whereas maybe the best thing you could have done is rather than go across that meadow, go around to the left or right of it. Go down to the downwind side of that meadow. You're not going across the meadow. You're staying in cover on the other side. And I don't want him to step out in the meadow. Because if he steps out on the edge of the meadow, he can look across and see there's no damn elk there. I would rather him stay in the timber. So go around to the side and make him come around the side of it through the timber.
Okay. Yeah, that makes 100% sense. That clears that up. Talking about using, go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, talk about using terrain and stuff like that. You talk about benches and some of these different terrain features. Talk about the setup and talk about what you're looking for in a situation. And, are you trying to find a spot where you're concealed, or are you not as worried about that? Just go into that for a second.
I've got piles of video in that strategies and action section where I'm literally if you get on there, watch the Twizzler video. It's about a 10 to 12, 13-year-old bull, really funky, twisted, weird, non-typical this side, and then he's busted off on this side, just an ancient old bull. I was moving in to get set up there. It was a old bull with a pile of cows, big harem. Knew that I was not going to be able to call that bull in. All I could do is sucker a cow out. So I'm going from, typically what I'm going to be doing is going from patch of cover to patch of cover. And when I say cover, it's not to conceal me. It's to conceal the elk that I should be, that I'm trying to pretend to be. Like, Rob, what you said in the beginning, if they're going to be vocalizing, oftentimes they're going to be on their feet and they're going to be doing something, which means should be a big blocky animal moving or engaging the environment somehow. I want to have cover behind me that should be able to conceal the possibility that there is an elk back there, a cow back there. So I'm going from pocket to pocket to pocket. But I've literally been trapped, especially with ASAT camo. In this situation, I was moving from one pocket, going across a wide open little chunk, headed to another pocket, and I flat got caught. A cow stepped out, and there she is, and I'm like, ugh, and I've got me and my camera, the tripod, boink, stop, and the closest tree to me is 10 feet away, and I'm in the wide open. I do a 360 panoramic after the entire encounter. I was wide open. The only thing she saw, they knew something. The two cows and a calf that got close, they were really unsure of what was that thing that was kind of weird standing there. It wasn't until the cow got past me because she could see the LCD screen that was glowing. She didn't like that at all. She's like, what is that thing? It was already too late. The bull followed him all the way out, and I could have killed him there. Or as they turned and walked back in, I could have killed him there. But I have set up numerous times in the wide open. I've got another video called The Bull in the Wide Open. And I mean, when I say wide open, it's the typical gigantic ponderosa pine with wide open grass parks. And same thing. I'm headed out across, trying to get set up. I'm working one bull, and as I'm going, all of a sudden I see something. I turn around, I look to my right, and here's this giant bull. He's standing there. He's watching me. Part of it. He saw me move a little bit, but now we kind of saw each other at the same time. He's trying to rally sequester two cows. I just freeze. Tripod. I'm out in the open. Let the thing. He ends up passing by, I don't know, like 20 some yards eventually after about 30 minutes of playing the game with him. So I don't necessarily need cover around me to hide me. I want cover behind me to conceal the would-be elk that I'm pretending to be. Whether that's a cow or a bull, doesn't matter.
Okay, so you're hunting solo, and if you're at what point do you shut up and quit calling? Like how close is that elk getting before you're just shutting up completely? Because obviously if you're standing out in the open and you're still calling, you're giving up, your new location, so to speak. So
yeah,
when do you just shut up?
That comes with just
time.
Well, yes, but again, what does the terrain look like? How close does he have to be? How close is that doorway? Am I just, Rob, to your point, using terrain and benches? So am I just below or am I just over a bench to where when he pops up, he's 10 yards? Okay, I can continue to call a little bit further. Or is this a wide slope that goes off in the distance where it's fairly open and it's open behind me? Okay, that doorway might be out there a ways where I need to shut up and just let him continue to filter in. Or, and I talk about, if they are in a situation, what do you do if you do need to call? But how thick and how blocky is that mass of cover behind me. If it's really thick, I might be able to get away with continuing to call a little bit. I talk on, there's something to be said about continuity of calling, because if you think about it, especially if you've been working a bull and you're stepping it up in your intensity just to get him to crack open and come loose, well, you're pretending to be an elk that is elevated in their intensity. Why in the hell would that elk not want to show themselves? You, the caller, why in the world would you not, if you're elevated in intensity, why wouldn't you be making an effort to step out? So if that elk is coming and I'm having to use, a moderate to a higher level of an intensity, sometimes you need to make sure that you've got to have the plausibility that we're still here, we're still excited, we're still a little bit intense, so just keep coming. Because the other side, and somebody asked me this a while back, if I'm starting low and I build up and I have to build up again, and now I'm at a moderate to a high level of intensity in my calling, and the elk starts coming, and I just shut up cold turkey, why did that elk just go silent? For the past 30 minutes, we've been going back and forth on an intense vocalizing interaction. That bull finally commits, or that elk, that cow or calf or whatever, the elk that we're calling to finally commits, finally is convinced, finally leaves their comfort zone wherever they are and starts moving our way. And then all of a sudden the elk that they're supposed to be heading to all of a sudden go, whip, dead silent. Why? Did a mountain lion just come through? Did a bear just come through? Did a hunter just spook? What happened? Because that doesn't make sense. If we have been going for the past 30 minutes to an hour at a high level of intensity, and now I'm finally coming, why wouldn't there be continuity in that progression of an interaction? So I do tend to call a little longer than other people do. However, I do call differently than other people, because I will, if they start to come, I'm going to switch it to where I'm going to say, okay, I was at a high level. Okay, now you're listening to me? Fine. Let's just kind of bring this baby back and I'll just kind of let's just tone it back. I'm still going to call, but I'm going to tone it down to where, okay, now you're listening to me. Good. That's what I wanted you to do. I'm going to reward that, but I want you to continue to come. I'm going to still keep talking to you. But it really depends on the cover that you have around you or the terrain that you're in and how close that doorway is to you. Because if that doorway is 80 to 100 yards out, sometimes you just have no choice but to tone it down or just stop and let them tease you out.
You ever kind of go out of the box in a setup like that, and maybe throw rocks or throw a stick?
Oh,
yeah.
Just especially if I know they've been standing there, and I just maybe I'll just reach behind me, grab that dead twig, and just one snap, or if I can, just flip over that rock with my foot. Absolutely. This is, Pete, I don't know, probably 20 plus years ago, there was a guy that talked about taking his water bottle and just tipping it over and sounding like an elk urinating. That's a great idea. Yeah, well, okay. You want me to bake your noodle?
The problem is it pinpointed him.
Okay, maybe. But don't fool yourself that they already don't know right where you are.
True.
They know. I can tell you right now, I got the video to prove it. They'll walk squarely right in your lap because they know you're in their house. That's the thing people don't realize is, again, especially if we're talking about, maybe if you're hunting early season and the elk are moving from summer range to a transition area where they're going to rut. Maybe they're traversing the corridor, and if it's a young bull, maybe he hasn't really stood there and really teased out the terrain and got to know his house yet. But that 15-year-old cow that he's with, yeah, she's been there. She knows it. They live there. So they know right where you are. But the funny part about the little water bottle urine thing, and I knew where you're going, yeah, I don't want to have to go filter more water. I'm either going to drink the water, I'm not going to dump it on the ground. Yeah. But no, I talk about this. There's a video. It's called The Complete Targeted Strategy. I think I put a portion of it up on YouTube. But you watch, and this is something people need to pay attention to. If you're worried about whether or not your elk is the animal that's in front of you, are they going to spook or not? You need to watch to see if they urinate. If they dribble a little, they start to dribble urine. Now, I'm not talking about a cow just emptying her bladder and just dumping it. No. And I'm not talking about a bull that's excited and he's spraying the front, his front legs and his belly patch. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking a steady, just a little dribble of urine that falls in a little puddle straight underneath them. A lot of times they will do that if they're a little worried.
Yeah,
if they start to get spooked. If they start to get spooked, they're a little worried, they're unsure. So that elk comes in, stops, is looking, doesn't see something. If they start to urinate, your time is limited. If they don't, however, they may not be spooked. They may just be sitting there watching and waiting. You just stay quiet, let it unfold, sometimes maybe it's better to let them turn and give them a little chirp or something back. You snap their attention back to you, but watch for that urine stream, because sometimes a urine stream just dribbling on the ground can be a sign that they're spooked.
That's a good point. I do that when I'm nervous too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
Exactly. So in other words, Rob, you're sitting in you're in your office there with no pants on right now. That's
close.
You got
brother.
the shirt.
That's
you got the shirt, but that's it. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just saying.
Oh man, this is a fun conversation. It really is. How much tree raking? Talk about tree raking, breaking sticks.
I don't do as much as, to be honest, that's a good question. I used to do a bunch of it when I leaned heavy on bull vocalizations. I don't do it as much anymore, simply because I got really good at executing cow vocalizations. However, there's a lot of validity to utilizing those types of sounds. And the reason why I say that is if you do like to use bugling or bull vocalization strategies, if you want to be that guy that wants to run around with a bugle and use a bugle, that's fine. Or bull vocalizations, that's fine. One thing that I do hear people talk all the time about is a bull going up and, raking a tree because, he's pissed or he's aggressive. He's a great, but okay, yes, they can do that. Keep in mind, though, sometimes the reason why they are raking a branch is because it's called displacement behavior. They're frustrated. They might be a little worried. They might be a little nervous. And so they're trying to do anything they can do to, make themselves look big. I got my big boy pants on. See, I'm going to tear this tree up. See how bad I am? Yeah. And so they go over and they rake on a tree. It's not because they're aggressive. It's because they're nervous and they want to seem aggressive.
Yeah.
The relevant point to your question is the reason why I say I probably need to bring more of those into my use if and when I'm using bull vocalizations is because I do talk about something, matching a bull. You'll hear people talk about matching a bull for whatever bugle he does. I disagree with that. What I will do is I'll come up just below that and I'll start to sound really nervous. So if he steps up, I kind of almost, but then I don't know, maybe I'm hesitant. I'm a little worried. This is where sometimes that's where raking does play dividends. So yes, it does work. I think some people misinterpret what is actually going on. And I think if you did some more of that raking in some of those situations where if you have a bull in front of you that's just stepping it up, adding some raking and then start to give bull vocalizations that sound a little bit more worried can be absolutely what they need to just come over and just engage you physically.
Yeah. And there's two ways that I use it. And number one, it would be like we were saying earlier, when I get into elk sign, you can smell out, not necessarily a bull, smell some cows. There ought to be a bull somewhere. Hunker down, set up, cow call a little bit. I don't get anything. Just quietly, just rake,
Oh, yeah.
And that seems to elicit more often than not some response. The other one is when things seem to be in an impasse. And it's funny you say that it's a nervous reaction because that makes so much sense. I never looked at it that way. But when things are hot and heavy and I might start raking if he's not coming. If I can't get him to move, I might start raking it. But and it works often, but when you say that it's a nervous reaction, it's like, man, a bell goes off. It's like, well, no joke. Maybe that's why they're coming in, because I'm showing weakness, not strength. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of times it's just, okay, I want to put some eyes on this guy. They're not coming in looking for a fight.
Yeah.
They're coming in because they're like, okay, I think I've got the upper hand. Maybe he is a little nervous. Let me, okay, now I feel a little bit more comfortable actually coming in and laying eyeballs on him and getting a little closer. Because that's the other thing too. If an elk approaches another elk, they've got antlers on their head too, most likely. That's a weapon. If I get too close and this is a giant bull, I might get my butt whooped and lose my cow. So I'm not going to be overly engaged. Again, it's another thing, bull came in looking for a fight. No, I'm actually going to be doing, Jay and I have already set it up. We're going to do a podcast discussing bull behavior in conflict situations. And no, they're not. And quite honestly, if a bull is looking for a fight, he doesn't say, he can scream, he can bugle, but he's not doing it vocally. You will see him charge. You will see him come, and he does not care. They're not looking. He just comes. And if the fight happens, if the fight happens, fine. Don't care. I'm coming. So they don't come looking for a fight. They just charge in. If you have a bull that's bugling back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it doesn't matter if it's stepping up. If he's not charging in, he's not looking for a fight. He's actually trying not to fight. He's trying to bluff you to get you to go away. And if you're not leaving and it's escalating, and then all of a sudden you start to show weakness, now it might be in his best interest to come over there and show himself to say, okay, get the hell out of here. Leave. Get out of here. Leave my cows alone. Or maybe if he thinks if you've been using bull vocalizations and cow calling, he's like, man, maybe I can't, maybe he's just a youngster. Maybe I can take these cows. So yeah, sometimes raking is nothing but displacement behavior that is just out of frustration. Yeah. It's a show to make it seem like he's a badass.
Well, this is kind of, you talked about a second ago, trying to be just under that bull that you're calling. And that's kind of the exact opposite of a lot of things that I've ever heard. And does that especially, is that because you're hunting a higher pressured area specifically? Or
no, I'll do the same thing in Arizona with a 10-year-old bull.
Okay. And that's why.
Okay. Let's use a common example. It's not my example. I don't need to name names because there's about 3 or 4 different guys that I know that have all given this example in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're in a bar with your girlfriend or whether you're out, you're on a date with your girlfriend. Some guy comes up and he wants a challenge. Okay. We can argue those scenarios. But if someone comes up to you and wants to engage you hostilely, do you want to fight somebody who sounds at least as good as you do? At least as confident as you are? At least as aggressive as you are? If that guy is matching you toe to toe and or sounding even bigger than you, is it in your best interest to go over there and engage that individual?
More than likely not.
Okay, don't downplay that, because so many people do. So many people put their ego and humanize it. Level 3, we're bumping up here. So this is one of those situations where I'm like, okay, everybody wants to be this macho badass, in these scenarios where, some guy comes in a bar and wants to mess with your lady. 99.99% of the guys, you're not going to fight them. You're going to leave. You might lash out with vicious rhetoric. You might stand up and get between your lady and him as you leave. Most people don't. And I mean, geez, Pete, anymore. I love listening to some people like Jocko or Andy Stumpf or some of these, ex-Navy SEALs. Some of the most lethal and deadly guys in the world will tell you, you don't fight. just walk away. These are the guys that have the skills to do what everybody else is. And they're like, no, you don't do that. You just leave because you don't know what's going to happen. Here's somebody who's gone in and kicked down doors with a bad guy on the other side that his life mission wants to kill you, and they had the skills to go and kill them violently. What it would say, if you want to engage in violence, you do it violently. You don't tiptoe into it. Here are these guys that actually have the skills, whether you're MMA fighters, whether you're jiu-jitsu freaking black belts, whether you're special operations, boxers, whatever, all these guys that actually have the skills to lay knuckles down. And they're the ones that don't, because they have been in conflicts before, and they know at any moment they could end up with somebody that can take advantage of them, or some stupid little twist of fate ends up, bam, it can go bad, and it can go bad, and it goes sideways real quick. It's no different than elk. Quite honestly, it's more primal. They have more to lose. Yes, do elk fight? Absolutely they do. They do. But the entire whole thing about antlers and displays and bugling and all the gyrations they go to is to avoid fighting. Because they know that if they get their butt whipped, they could die, or they could get injured to the point where they miss out on all the entire season, and or they lose the cows they have. It's just better to just stay away as we walk away.
Yep.
No, that's a great point.
It's no different than any of us. So I hear all these examples about, the guy, he came at the restaurant and he came up to my lady. You're full of shit. Excuse my language. You're full of shit. No, you're not. You're going to be like, dude, what the hell? Yeah, get away. And you're both going to get up and or have management come over or call the cops over. Or somebody else is going to, it's not going anywhere.
You look for the get back coach. Grab a hold of me. Grab a hold of me.
Yeah, you're lucky this table was there
the get
as
back
you're going
coach?
around. You're lucky this table's between us. You're lucky this table's between us. It's funny you say that because I was talking to Jay about it. Doesn't matter. We have neighbors that have dogs. I walk my dogs. My dogs are well trained. They're off leash, but they're right here with me. And so we walk by these neighbors. They have a small chain link fence. They keep a couple beagles in. As we walk by, these beagles just go nuts, just barking like crazy. Well, the thing is, the beagles are crafty, and they get out. Well, while they're out running around, they'll come running by the house. They don't say squat. Well, the other day, it was hilarious because they were out. But they were outside of the house. So here we come walking by, and I see the two beagles. They come out to the driveway. They look without a word. They turn around, run to the back of the house, go back under the fence. So now they're in the fence, run around to the front of the house, inside the fence. It's like, okay, hold on a minute there, Chief. You had a moment where you were right here, wide open. If you wanted to engage, they were right here. But no, what does he do? They run back into the safety of their chain link fence, and then they're like, we'll kill you. You're lucky this fence is here. It's awesome. The same thing. Awesome. You can watch bulls, and I've got some video of this too. You can literally watch bulls sparring, or so you got friendly sparring, and then you've got, pecking order type conflict. It's not knockdown, drag out to where they're going to kill each other, but they're pushing, they're going, they're trying to establish dominance. You can watch bulls purposely angle themselves while they're sparring, and then that's a tree, right? This is a tree. They literally get on opposite side of the tree and they fight between the tree. It's like, you're lucky this tree's here. Oh, you're lucky this tree's here. Oh, you're lucky this tree. No. So all this bravado that everybody, wants to jump in. Okay. Yes, there is a tiny percent that wants to. It's not a 2.5-year-old bull, guys. Come on. But so, like, to your point, yeah, no, I don't escalate the things because, quite honestly, oftentimes it just ends up into the shouting match for an hour, and then they wander off. And while that's happening, every other swinging Richard that's out there hunting is walking up the mountainside now in my back pocket. So I got 8 other guys now or gals that I got to compete with, and I just built all this excitement. I got that bull fired up to let everyone else on the mountain know exactly where that bull is. Yay.
That's a whole nother strategy, is hunting to stay away from hunters. That's a whole nother game.
And again, let's round it back and go to the beginning.
Yep.
Where I come in at the foundation.
You're right.
All I need to do, if that bull just, you're dead. If I know where you are, I'm going to slip in. I'm going to just hit you with basic fundamental cow calls, most likely. And if all he does is just mew at me once, I don't care. The only time I want anybody to know that there's an elk up on that mountain is when it's on my back or on the back of my horse headed out. It's like, yep, he was right up there.
I was going to say, when you need a hand packing, that's the only time.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir.
Oh, that's funny. Man.
Yeah, this is why I like deer. It's see deer, go kill deer. It's pretty much
you make it sound easy, my friend.
Well, I mean, this high level conversation is good stuff, and I'm gonna have to dive into the course and really soak some of this stuff up so I can ask a little more high level questions next time.
But the thing is it's set up to where you can go through it and get in a very short order. You can get a lot of meat and potatoes, and then it's as deep as you want to dive into it from there.
Right. Yeah, no, this has been great.
Yeah. And I really want to have you back on, Chris, because there's so many rabbit holes to run down, just talking about scenarios, just throwing out things that have happened. I mean, that's one thing about elk hunting. I look back on my, all of my seasons of hunting, and some things that happen, you just go, that was just so amazing. What caused that? And you never know. Like every year I always say, well, hell, I don't know if that bull, had a pack of wolves around him last night and he's a little frazzled, or, like a lion just went through. You just never know. But it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, no, and I think you touched on, well, no, I don't think, I know, because I get the feedback. It's amazing. I enjoy listening to the feedback of folks that are subscribers because they go through it. Even when things don't work out, just having the knowledge of knowing what is going on, or a better grasp of what likely is going on, is such a confident booster, number one, because you're day 5 of a 7-day hunt and you've been slugging it and you can't buy an elk. Your confidence level goes, boo, and it's hard to get out of the fart sack in the morning when it's bitter cold and it's nice and toasty in the sleeping bag. And the other 5 mornings, you didn't find an elk in the morning. So you're like, you know what? Why do I even get up? Maybe I'll sleep in, get up, and then I'll go through a midday hunt or whatever. If all of a sudden you're like, okay, there is that elk, or no, there is sign there, or no, I got that response, but boy, it just didn't work out. Having an understanding of why that might be just gives you so much more confidence. Say, okay, if that situation didn't work, now I know why. I think I know why, and this is what I need to do to adjust. So now I've got that one more hope, that one more play, that one more go. And again, and I didn't talk about this to be part of the other philosophy. My philosophy is I want to work the animals as minimally as possible so I can do exactly that. I go in, work him. He doesn't want to respond. Fine. Okay. I run out of daylight or the wind starts shifting. Fine. Who cares? Back out, because now I didn't disrupt them. I didn't mess them up. So what is going to happen? They're going to be back out there this evening. Fine. I can go in and I can try something different, or I can try it again. Oh, it didn't work. I ran out of daylight. Fine. Doesn't matter. Back out. Tomorrow, they're going to be right there or somewhere near that. It gives me a chance to work those animals, multiple times without altering their behavior on the landscape.
I'm a huge proponent of that. And because you get so much hunting pressure, I would so much rather see somebody hunt smart like that than just go in and blow them out. So you can have, like 2 or 3 people hunting this massive ridge system, right? With all these finger ridges coming off. You don't necessarily like the fact that there's other people there, but if you know that they are hunting smart and you hunt smart, you can hunt it for a few days.
Bingo. I'd rather have 10 smart guys in the same valley than 2 stupid guys that blow everything out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, I didn't even think about this until you just now. Having knowledge of what is going on and why not only increases your understanding and satisfaction in knowing what's going on in your hunt, it does eliminate, or it can help to eliminate a certain level of inherent panic that we all have, to where oftentimes I see guys, and myself, you go into a new landscape and you don't know what's going on and you don't know who else is out there, and you get an elk or to respond, and there's this panic of, I've got to do something now before someone else does. I've got to beat everybody to it, and it becomes this combat bow hunting scenario. Whereas, if you understand what's going on and you have better comprehension, quite honestly, the panic level goes away. But I think part of the important part about that is now it's not as devastating to have someone else hunting out there.
Yep. That's awesome.
And a lot of people, if you understand what's going on and you have confidence in your game and what you know, so you guys are hunting in here too? Oh, okay. All right. Well, then we don't need to coordinate. I don't need to, but I tell you what, where are you headed? Where were you headed? We were going to go here. Okay. You guys are going to, okay, fine. Awesome. We'll go here. You go there. No harm, no foul, because I know what I can do over here. And if you tell me you're going to be over on this side of the mountain and I hear a bull bugle, okay, well, I'm not going to chase after it because you said you were going to hunt over there, because I know that there's elk over here and I know that I can get over here and work them. Next day, maybe we'll go somewhere else, but it gives you a layer of confidence and comfort to where you don't feel as panicked, to where you get freaked out by other people on the landscape hunting, and it just devolves into this combat bow hunting type scenario that nobody likes.
You know, it's funny you just said that, because I can go back like twice in recent memory where I run into somebody and they initiate it and say, "Where are you headed?" And immediately I'm disarmed. I'm like, immediately I go, "Well, this guy knows his stuff." It's funny you just said that, because, you know, you're kind of feeling each other out like, oh man, you know, and then when the other person says, "Where are you headed?" you go, "Well, this guy knows what he's doing." Funny.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people that really love the fact that, you know, maybe at the end of the season, even if they, for some reason, you know, I can't change I can't control the wind for you. I can't shoot for you. I can't choose your setup for you. I can help you identify all these other things. But if the tag does not get punched at the end of season, the level of satisfaction that people come back with and be like, all right, I did this and that worked, and I saw that, and so so next year, now we know that they were better here. So so it's an enjoyable recollection and planning for the next year, rather than like, oh, I don't know what the freaking hell, we're gonna find another spot because I don't know what's, there's just too many people in there, they're blowing everything out, and it doesn't work.
You know, so some of the coolest memories I have are not of killed bulls, but they're bulls that, like, all of a sudden the light bulb goes off on my head and I immediately, I got him, checkmate. And I set up and do what needs done right there. They come in, the one right off the top of my head, never get a shot at. But when he runs off, I look at my buddy, I'm like, I knew what he was going to do. There's so much satisfaction in that.
Brother, you are okay. That bull right there.
Nice, dandy.
Okay. That was in Unit 1, Colorado, which is a limited draw unit in Colorado. Okay.
They got the best elk hunting.
Well,
Colorado.
I don't know about that. Let's just put a pin in that sucker.
That's a running joke between Aaron and.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good. Because I was just going to say, I don't know if I'm going to hunt Colorado again. Jeez,
no, they got awesome elk hunting.
They do, but in those units, in those limited draw units, No, that bull right there. So yeah, it's a limited draw unit. That's fine. And people look at that and be like, oh, yeah, of course, you 12 points. You should come away with a bull like that. Yeah, well, okay, whatever. The cool part about that bull was I saw him in the morning. He was with 2 other bulls by themselves. They were looking for cows. Where he was, I could not get to him that morning, and he bedded down out in the sagebrush, Rolling Hill sagebrush. The rest of the day, I sat pawing over maps, moving around the terrain, eyeballing, getting everything laid out to where I knew where he was. I knew what the terrain looked like between where I could get and where he was. I went through all of the gaming in my head going, okay, this is what he was doing. This is who he was with. This is what he was vocalizing. This is what he was responding to. I think he's going to want this. I walked in that evening, set up, and it was 2009. So it was before I started running a video camera. And dang it, do I wish I had this on video, because it was just like you said. That bull stood up out of his bed, and I was like, you're dead. You don't even know it yet. You're dead. And I literally shot him 3 steps. He walked around. I called him and walked him around the end of. He basically walked right straight to the juniper that I was hiding behind, and I'm sitting there going left or right. I have no idea. And all of a sudden, he just veered off to my right, and I just pulled back and swung, and he ate the arrow at 3 steps. And I was like, that was one of the most unbelievable hunts. Yes, he's a great bull, but he's a mature bull. And I had his number down. You're laying slumbering in bed, and you don't even know what's coming.
Checkmate.
You're done.
Yep.
Done.
That's cool. I could do a podcast with you once a month, man.
What took you so long?
Well, I don't know.
What took you so long? You're out there farting around with Aaron too long.
I know. Well, I'm an old guy. I'm set in my ways. I'm going to use my damn vacuum hose at 13 cents a foot at Home Depot.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to use my one reed
that you bought in 1986. Larry D. Jones.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Got me pretty fired up, man. I should draw a pretty good elk tag in Colorado. So between now and then, I'm ready to dive in. We can edit this out. I'll have 6 next year.
No, we won't.
Oh, so no, I mean, there's a number of units that put you in that running, and they're all good. So that's cool.
Yeah, I've got a unit in mind that I'm going to go to, and I probably could have drawn it this year, but I wanted to make damn sure I could draw it. So, I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool.
But anyway, Rob, you got anything else?
Well, no, I just want to thank Chris for his time. I appreciate it, man. It's good getting together with you, and good luck this season.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. I don't even know if I'm going to pull an elk tag for myself. I've got a client down in Arizona that I got to get down. Colorado changed their season structure this year, so it starts September 2nd, which takes a full week. That I usually always went that first week to 9 days. That's off the table for me this year. So I'm headed to Arizona to guide, and then I might have I'm probably going to be down there the full 2 weeks. So it all depends on what happens that last week of September, whether or not I get a chance to go for myself or not, or I don't know. I have not spent the past couple years getting just good gallery footage for the website. I might actually do that this year, just rather than spend $700 to go hike my bow around the woods and on a last minute effort. That's always subject to change. I may just go up with a camera and just soak it in and just get some really good footage, and just, we've got 50 plus some odd hours on the website already, but I just keep adding to it just because it's awesome to have.
What weeks you got open?
Really the last week of September.
Oh, gotcha. Right on, man.
Yeah, man.
This ain't gonna be the last time we talk to you. It's fun.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
And tell everybody again where they can find Roe hunting resources.
There you go. It's Roe is ROE. Do not put a W in there. Just ROE hunting resources, and that's whether that's .com, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on Instagram. You can go to Instagram. I don't do a lot on Facebook. But yeah, if you want to find me, you just Roe Hunting Resources in whatever place you're looking, and you'll find me. And then the website is roehuntingresources.com. And then you'll see that you got the educational stuff, and then there's the elk module, and you can click on that. And there's all sorts of, you can get 3 months, a year, you can get all, we set it up to where it's easy and convenient for you, pretty darn cheap. I think the 3 month one is still like $25 or something like that.
Well, you consider an out of state tag. That's
yeah,
pretty good. That's pretty good. Money well spent.
Geez, a pack of broadheads these days is what, $50-$60, and some of it, or I'm shooting iron wills now. So yeah, let's not even go there.
Us too.
There you go.
The smart men. That's why. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, look at his shirt.
Yeah.
What shirt you wearing there?
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bill's a good friend of mine. So
good stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, bud. We'll be in touch.
All right, brother. Hey, thanks for having me on. It's been a hell of a lot of fun, so I'm glad this finally happened.
You betcha. Take care,
all
buddy.
right. Thanks, Chris.
Bye.